Hello, everyone, and happy Mental Health Awareness Month. That's right. If you are not aware, May is deemed Mental Health Awareness Month. And the idea is really to bring awareness to our mental health and the importance of caring for our mental health. Because my mental health matters, and so does yours. Even the Bible talks about mental health. In 3rd John chapter 1, verses 2, it says, Beloved, I wish above all things that you would prosper, you would be in good health, just as your soul prospers. And soul here refers to our mind, our will, and our emotions. So God cares about our mental health. Now, I am here to talk about that dreaded S word that we call stress. Yes, all of us have experienced at one point or another stress. Some of us might be stressed out right now, or we know somebody that's stressed. And it's a normal reaction. It's a normal feeling. It's something that each human being has experienced, and no one is exempted from it. I just want to give us a definition of stress. So, stress is defined as a physiological and a psychological response to some sort of activity or an event. So, in other words, stress is something that affects us physically and it affects us mentally. Now, as I said, we've all experienced stress before. We experience stress in different ways, and we also cope and manage with stress differently. Now, what I want to do is to talk about some symptoms of stress. Now, I want to um, invite you to sort of find yourself here. See if, based on the symptoms that um, I mentioned, if you've experienced these things. So, the symptoms have been categorized into four categories. So, cognitively, emotionally, behaviorally, and physically. So, cognitively, we'll start off with cognitively, and that is dealing with our mind. Now, some of the ways that um, stress could in fact impact us cognitively is our memory. We might find that when we're stressed, we are more forgetful. Maybe you might find that you have trouble concentrating, or maybe you have trouble focusing. You might even find yourself being worried a lot. Um, some persons might even experiencing difficulty in making decisions. They can't seem to make a decision, whether it's a big one or a small one. They find themselves sort of struggling with that. Secondly, we want to focus on the emotional symptoms. So, moodiness, you find yourself being in a mood, in a funk. Um, you find yourself being irritable. It doesn't take much to set you off. You find yourself being cranky or you're easily angered. These are some ways you find yourself being hopeless or even helpless. Oftentimes, you might find that you're even feeling you're anxious, you're nervous all the time. That is some of the ways that stress presents itself emotionally. Now, physically, you might find that you have headaches. So maybe you're not a person that normally has headaches. When you're stressed, you can start experiencing headaches. You could start experiencing migraines. You might find that all of a sudden your body is just tense. You find that you're feeling pain all the time. You can't necessarily explain it, but your body is just in pain. You might be feeling nausea. Maybe you have diarrhea. You're just finding that your stomach is just upset all the time. That is a symptom of stress. You may even find that, as I mentioned, on the emotional side, that you're feeling anxious, you're nervous. On the physical side of things, your heart rate is going up. So you might find that your heart is racing all the time. And what accompanies that sometimes is often high blood pressure. So these are some things that you might find yourself experiencing when you're stressed and it's showing itself physically. Um, Now, finally, behavioral symptoms. So you might find that when you're stressed, your habits are different in terms of your sleeping habits. So maybe you're usually an early sleeper, but now you can't sleep. You're up all night. Um, or usually, if you find that you're a person that stays awake really late, you're a night owl, all of a sudden you're just tired all the time. You want to sleep whenever you get an opportunity to. Maybe you might find that where you're used to going out with friends or hanging out with loved ones, you find that now you want to be by yourself. You want to isolate. You just feel like withdrawing from people. You don't want to engage. You don't feel like calling anyone. You don't feel like talking with anyone. And you find that you don't want to take on your responsibilities. So you just want to curl up in bed, like I said, sleep, or you stay awake all night and you tend to neglect the things that you're responsible for doing. Oftentimes, you also tend to gravitate towards more caffeine. For some, it's caffeine. For some, it's alcohol. For some, it's smoking, other forms of drugs and substances. So it's really important to pay attention to your stress levels and how you deal with stress because it you become higher risk for developing addictions if you find that you're constantly stressed and you're using these things to cope. So, these are some of the symptoms, as I said. Now, we all experience stress differently, as I mentioned. So maybe, at the end of the video, you can put in the comments, some ways that you experience stress or you've experienced stress that was not mentioned here today. Um, and just keep the conversation going. So we talked about symptoms of stress. Now, it's really important to keep remembering that you're not abnormal. If you experience these things, you're not a weirdo, you're a human being, and it's natural to feel some sort of response, especially when we experience an event in our life that feels like it's threatening, like the way that we're living, right? So it's natural for your body to react. So while we are able to identify some of the symptoms, I want us to now look at how can we cope with stress? How do we manage stress? Now, again, I want you to be intentional about this. This is something that we all experience. And so in order to best manage stress or cope, we have to be intentional about it. The Bible says faith without works is dead. So while we believe that God can help us, there is a part that we have to play in managing our stress. Now, the first thing I want us to do or to think about when it comes to managing our stress is don't be too hard on yourself. We shouldn't be too hard on ourselves because, as I've said, stress is a normal response. It's not an abnormal thing, right? So if you find yourself feeling stressed, even if you find, okay, maybe I've been stressed, I'm feeling stressed way too often, it's a chronic thing, don't be too hard on yourself. It's something that we've all experienced at one point, and so focus on getting help. Now, the second point I want to talk about when it comes to managing stress is identifying the stressors. So, the thing that's stressing you out. It's important to be able to identify the thing that's stressing us out if we are able to effectively deal with stress. So, maybe we need to take some time. Maybe you might need to pause here, take a pen, take your phone and make some notes. What is it that's causing me stress? What is it that's causing me to have these emotional symptoms, these physical symptoms? Um, what is it? Is it your workplace? Maybe there's something happening on the job right now that's stressing you out. It's been going on for a while. Maybe it's a family relationship. Your family dynamics are not ideal and it's stressing you out. Maybe it's a romantic relationship. Maybe it's friendships. Maybe there's some tension there. Are these things causing you stress? Are these things causing you to lose sleep, not eat, overeat? Um, is it maybe your responsibilities? Do you find that you're having uh, trouble managing them for some other underlying reason? These are things to think about. So being able to identify them will help you to deal with them. Now, my third point is talking about them, talking about your problems, talking about the things that stress you out. We're human beings. God made us for relationship. There is no person that has had any sort of success by themselves on their own. It's never happened. We need people. We need each other. So going back to the second point about identifying your problems, identifying the things that stress you out, maybe that might not be so easy for you. Maybe all you can say is or identify is that you feel these things. You feel anxious, you feel nervous, you feel stressed, but maybe you don't know what the reason might be. So it's really important to talk to someone, reach out to someone. Maybe you might feel like, I don't have a friend that I can talk to about this. I would encourage you to reach out to a professional. There are many mental health resources out there, counselors out there that can help you talk things through, help to guide you, help to pull out the reasons, maybe, as to why you're stressed. So if you find that you're having trouble identifying, not to worry, someone can help you. Reach out, talk to if you do have persons in your life that are trusted that you can share with. I really encourage you to do so. The final point in dealing or managing with your stress, I've labeled it like if developing healthy habits, and there's a few things that fall under this category here. And by developing healthy habits, we want to start with eating well. Now, we all know that when we're stressed, sometimes we have a tendency to go for the ice cream. Maybe that piece of chocolate cake, maybe a burger, whatever it is that you enjoy that brings you comfort, you run to that. Now, it's okay to maybe have that ice cream once in a while when you're stressed, but you don't want that to be your go-to in the long term. You don't want that to be your norm. Every time you feel stressed, you run to ice cream because in the end, it doesn't truly help you. You want to develop habit that is helpful for you and is healthy in the long run. Now, I didn't say don't eat the ice cream, don't eat the chocolate cake. I just said be mindful of how often you eat it. So when we think of eating healthy, it just means a balanced diet. So not just the protein, put some veggies in there, put some fruits in there. It's important. And you would find that feeding yourself well will have long-term benefits. Now, exercising is another um, thing that we can practice, another habit, another healthy habit that we can incorporate into our life. Now, you may not be able to exercise every day. On average, 3 to 5 times per week is best. Maybe you can only manage 15 minutes 3 times a week. That's fine. Some sort of movement, some sort of activity is beneficial in the long run. There are many studies that show the correlation between being physically well and mentally well. So the more active we are, the better we are able and equipped to manage our emotions, manage our stress. One other point is connecting with others. So building relationships. So as I mentioned, maybe before you maybe might not feel like you have people to connect with, but don't let that keep you away from reaching or trying to build relationships. Maybe you're somebody who's a lone wolf. You like to be by yourself. I think it'll be good to step out of your comfort zone and maybe try to make one friend. Try to be maybe 10% more friendly to someone. Build a relationship, build friendships because it's helpful. It's helpful for us socially. And when we have healthy connections with others, it helps us to manage better emotionally. So if you have friendships already, be intentional about building those, be intentional about feeding those as well. Now, engage in hobbies. So, if there's something that you like, maybe you enjoy crafts, doing creative things, be intentional about taking time to do those things because it affects your mood overall and helps you to lower your stress levels. Finally, I want to talk about something that we can each say that we've neglected at some point in our life, and that is rest. Rest. Now, we live in a society where we have responsibilities. There are people that are depending on us, and so we're often on the go. But it's so important to take care of ourselves, have good self-care, and sleep is so important. Prioritizing sleep has long-term benefits. So as I mentioned, some of the physical or behavior changes that might come with stress is maybe you're sleeping too much or maybe you're not sleeping enough. Now, it's important to have healthy sleeping habits. So have a routine. Don't go to bed too late every single night. Sometimes we can't control how a day might go, but be intentional about developing a routine, especially when it comes to our sleep. So if you know that you want to get to bed at a certain point, at a certain time, try to turn off the electronics, turn down the screens, avoid watching TV, being on your computer, using your cell phone. Studies show that the blue lights and screen time really impacts sleep in a negative way, the quality of sleep. And so you want to give yourself the the best opportunity to have the best sleep. So be mindful of what you take in before you go to bed. Maybe try reading a book. Try maybe drinking some chamomile tea. That works for some, but try to avoid drinking sugary drinks, caffeine. Limit those things to earlier in the day if you do have to partake of those, so that you can have the best quality of sleep. So we've said a lot. I've said a lot, but I hope that it has been helpful for you talking about the ways to manage and so on. I hope that there's something in here that you can take away and apply to your own life. And maybe there's some things that I didn't mention that you do that works for you when it comes to managing stress. So let us know in the comments. Maybe give us some tips, some additional tips as to how can we best manage stress. And if you feel that you are really struggling right now, like after hearing this video or even just seeing the word stress, you know that you're dealing with a situation that is so stressful, I encourage you not to face it alone. Please reach out. The phone number for our church is on the screen. And you would notice the last four digits spell hope, because there is hope. Your situation is not hopeless, and we want to talk with you. So reach out, send an email, and someone will connect with you and direct you to the resources that you need to best manage your stress. So I thank you again for watching. I encourage you to share this with a friend because, as I said, we've all experienced stress at some point in our life. So, like the video, share the video, use it as a source to encourage others to manage their stress. Go back and watch it if you find that, hey, you know what, maybe there is something in here that I can learn to better manage my stress as well. And yeah, I thank you so much for watching and have a good rest of the month. Bye for now.